afternoon to all of you. Welcome back to this session of D and F block elements, where we are now into the F block segment of this periodic table. If you remember, in all the earlier segments, we have concentrated on the study of D block, and in that specially we have studied regarding the 3D elements. So, now we are going into the F block elements, and in the first place this F block elements can also be called as inner transition elements. Now, what is this transition elements? Transition indicates moving in. So, since we have studied the transition elements, and before we go to the inner transition elements, let us look at the homework questions that were given in the earlier segment which we had dealt. So, let us see the first question now, which is there. The first question was, write the equations involved in the manufacture of potassium dichromate. Now, potassium dichromate is a oxidizing agent which is considered, and these set of reactions we had studied and understood in the earlier segments where we have studied. So, this was about the chromite ore being fused with a base like sodium carbonate in the presence of air, getting sodium chromate salt, and then on acidification we are getting sodium dichromate. Because we need potassium dichromate for this oxidizing purposes, we react it with KCl and thereby we get potassium dichromate. So, this was the answer for the first question. Moving on to the second question, mention the ore used to obtain potassium permanganate. The ore utilized here is pyrolusite, where the formula is MnO2. With that ore you can prepare potassium permanganate. The third one is an example which they have asked for an oxidizing reaction of potassium permanganate, and that too in acidic medium. So, in acidic medium, potassium permanganate gets converted from +7 state of manganese to +2 state of manganese, and that is how the balanced chemical reaction can be written. For this you can use the support of redox reaction chapter that you have studied in first year. And finally, what is the oxidation state of chromium in potassium dichromate? So, for this is normally a 1 mark question asked, but how do we calculate this is K2Cr2O7, and in this 2 molecules of potassium which has +1 charge, we know that S block and P block have specific charges, whereas D block have variable oxidation state. So, this is 2 into X plus 7 into -2. Definitely the overall charge has to be 0 because this is a neutral molecule. So, solving this, 2 plus 2x minus 14 is equal to 0, 2x minus 12 is equal to 0, substituting these two, 2x is equal to 12, x is equal to +6. So, this is how we get the answer for as +6 for that fourth question which has been present. So, these are the homework parts which are there from the last part. And now let us enter into the inner transition elements which are there. So, what are these inner transition elements now? These are nothing but called as F block elements. They are divided into two sets, one is lanthanoids, the other one is actinoids. Both of them are having 14 elements in total, and they start from an element called as lanthanum and actinium. So, having started from those parts, they are called as lanthanoids and actinoids. They have similar properties between themselves. These lanthanoids have a specific oxidation state of +3 in them, whereas actinoids, it is filled with large number of various oxidation states. So, for this, first let us see the noble gas configuration which is there, the electronic configuration which we tend to say. And in all these electronic configurations, the first aspect that we are going to see is that an electronic configuration will be preceded by the noble gas which is present. So, this noble gas may be followed by NS0 to 2, where that flexibility could be there, D could be 0 to 1, and F could be from 1 to 14. This is the total number of electron systems which are possible in this. So, this can be taken up as the general electronic configuration for the lanthanides and actinides series. So, moving on now. So, in this segment here we have studied something called as lanthanoid contraction when we were studying about the atomic radii and ionic radii for d block elements. So because we have already studied it, let us now once again go through that part as a revision. So what is this contraction? Contraction means coming together. Now that coming together or getting closer together is because we have a nucleus present here, and this nucleus will naturally have certain orbits around it. We can analyze that this will have 1s, 2s, 2p, 3s, 3p, 3d, and then when you come to the fourth orbit, we have 4s, 4p, 4d as well as 4f. So when we have these many, we know very well that orbitals are filled by increasing energies. So this 4f orbital will be present inside the 5th orbit and 6th orbit. Remember, in 6th orbit you have 6s, 5th orbit you have 5s, 5p, 5d, 5f, all these elemental forms are there. So when I say n possibility which is there here, so when we look at the configuration, we write it as ns, but when we go for d block, we write it as n minus 1d, whereas for f block, we write it as n minus 2 f1 to 14, whereas this is 1 to 10 or 0 to 10 and this is 0 to 2. So this is how the general configuration can be understood, that the f orbital will be 2 orbits inside the outermost s orbital which is present. So this is how this lanthanoid contraction is the contraction of radius because of the elements which are being present there. And what is the consequence of this lanthanoid contraction? We see that in these lanthanoid contraction parts, the consequence is a graphical representation that is shown here. So this graphical representation tells you that the 3D series radius is a little away from the 4D as well as 5D series. Now this is because the 3D does not has any F systems in them, whereas 4D and 5D, because of the presence of 4s orbital before 5D orbital, the radius is contracted very near. So this was something that we had studied earlier, and once again it is going to be application here. So we will now see what are lanthanoids in this case. The first element that you are able to see is lanthanum, which is actually part of D block, but we study in F block because the series of these elements starts from lanthanum. So we have 14 elements after lanthanum which we are able to see. Similarly, various symbols of those elements, and we also have the electronic configuration of those elements. You are able to see that lanthanum has 5d1, 6s2, and then after lanthanum you are slowly filling the 4f orbitals which are seen there. You can see that there after the cerium, which is 4f1, 5d1, 6d2, the next one which is there actually directly goes to 4f3. There is no 4f2 because 5d and 4f orbitals are very near to each other. Their energy considerations are quite near. So therefore, in these cases, the stabilities are not exactly like the way we used to study in D block elements. So if these are the configurations, we now see the atomic radii and ionic radii, and you will realize that the atomic radii has been gradually decreasing down, except for an exception of europium, where the atomic radii has suddenly increased and not followed the order. All others are following a certain order of the system which is there. But ionic radii, if you compare, every single element slowly and gradually decreases. And which is the ion considered here? It is Ln plus 3. Why is Ln plus 3 considered? Is because whenever we write the configuration for these lanthanoids specially, we see that it has a configuration of 6s2 and then maybe 5d1, because lanthanoid elements are after lanthanum, and then we may have certain 4f elements, whichever it is, from 1 to 14 we may have. So the best stability is seen where 5d electron is removed and 6s2 electrons are removed. So when all these 3 electrons are removed, which is nothing but I can now call it Ln to be in plus 3 state, when all these 3 are removed, you are left with this f orbital only. And therefore, no doubt you also have plus 2 and plus 4 oxidation states available for lanthanoids, but plus 3 is the most stable oxidation state. One element which takes +4 as a highly oxidation state or the stable oxidation state is cerium. Why it is cerium? Let us just go back to the table that we had seen earlier. You can see that in cerium we have 4f1, 5d1, 6s2. So what does this mean is, if you are able to remove all those 4 electrons from, say, one from 4f, one from 5d, 2 from 6s, you will come back to noble gas configuration, and therefore only cerium tends to have a stable state at +4, or else generally everybody likes +3. This is just a diagrammatic view of the atomic and ionic sizes that are there. You can see that the straight line which is coming down is all for +3 state which is present. Some people are denoted here and there, those are not for +3 states, for variable other states where they are possible to be stable. So that +3 state we are able to see a gradual decrease, and this gradual decrease is nothing but the effective nuclear attraction that is present in this lanthanoids. So this is about the atomic and ionic sizes that we tend to see here, and moving on, let us now see the ionization energy. Definition and factors of all this has already been studied in the D block. Let us directly see the application of these parts here. On one side you are able to see an entire table with the practical values which are present, and if you go through the practical values as such, you are realizing that slowly the ionization energy is decreasing, at some places it is increasing in these cases. So what is ionization energy? The energy required to remove the outermost electron. Here we have to remember that there is a shielding effect offered by f block elements. So this f orbital may offer shielding effect. So what is that? Empty orbital, half filled orbital, completely filled orbital. We already know that these are the segments which offer extra stability, either if it is empty or half filled or completely filled. These will offer extra stability. The moment it is more stable, we know very well that removal of electron will be difficult. When it is stable by itself, we need more excess energy to remove the electrons from those systems. So this is the application of ionization energy in these parts of lanthanoid series. Certain physical properties in this now. These are more of a practical physical properties that we see, where lanthanoids are silvery white soft materials, and because these metals are metallic and have a very easy tendency to lose electrons, they get rapidly reacted with air. Their hardness also increases, where samarium, the metal which is like a hard steel which is present, the melting points are generally in the range of 1000 to 1200, but because samarium is quite hard in nature, the melting point of samarium is around 1600 or so. They have a typical metallic structure, good conductors of heat and electricity, and again form colored compounds and are paramagnetic, because we are able to see that generally in these cases by this configuration, we can understand that there could be a possibility of one unpaired electron, either say in d orbital or f orbital. And remember that in total, the moment you have 14 electrons in f orbital, you will actually have 7 orbitals in place. So how do you fill the system? You are actually going to fill it one each before you pair the system. So quite natural that you could get good number of lone pair or unpaired electrons in these cases. So these are certain physical properties that we tend to associate with lanthanoid systems. So moving on from this physical properties now, certain chemical properties that are present here. So what do we understand by chemical properties? Physical properties is something that we see in its natural state as such, but chemical properties are how do they react. Now once you just look at the diagrammatic picture, one thing can be understood perfectly, that in all these cases the valency of lanthanum, Ln indicates lanthanides. Lanthanum compound which is there actually has a formula La. Lanthanum Ln indicates all the 14 elements which are there in lanthanides. So you can analyze that in all those cases you have the oxidation state of lanthanides as +3 state. So with this +3 state of lanthanides, we can go for oxygen reaction, which we know that to be in -2 state, in nitrogen reaction where we know that it is -3 state, in other elements like halogens where we can see that it is in -1 state. So these type of systems which are there, these will react with lanthanides correspondingly. For example, if I have to form a lanthanum oxide, the formation will be that lanthanum is in +3 state, oxygen is in -2 state. When I cross it, it will be Ln2O3. This is the type of compound that I can form. Suppose if I want to form a lanthanum nitride in this case, so how can I form a lanthanum nitride? Ln is +3, nitrogen we know to have -3 state. So when I write the formula, it is Ln3N3, which can be written as Lnn. This is how the formula can be formed. Suppose if I want to form the halogen part of this, then I can take X to be as -1. We know that halogens are represented by X. Ln, this when I cross this, it will be Ln1X3. This is how we can represent. So this is how we can get these compounds, and we see that lanthanides on reaction with acids will give hydrogen gas, which is similar to the property which many other metals tend to do. Generally there are some exceptions like copper, but otherwise all metals when they react with acids will tend to give hydrogen gas. So looking back into the diagrammatic view of those reactions, we can see various type of reactions happening there where lanthanides can form its corresponding oxides depending on oxidation states. Sulfides, remember sulfur is also having a state of -2. Nitrides, with acids it is giving hydrogen gas. Halogens, with water it is giving the corresponding hydroxides, because hydroxides are the basic components in those cases. With carbon, it will give the inorganic carbide forms which are there. So these are certain chemical properties that we see for lanthanoid systems. What are the uses of this lanthanides? The best use of this lanthanides is its large application in the alloys which are present. Now what are alloys? This is something that we have studied in D block element, where alloy is an homogeneous mixture of two systems. So in those homogeneous mixtures, some amount of lanthanide is also added because they are very good in their metallic aspects. Therefore these are used. Mish metal, this is a combination of around 95% and 5% of this lanthanide and iron system, and along with that certain other metals are also added where you can make items like bullets, shells and other parts. Similarly, these lanthanides are used as a catalyst in various petroleum process. In petroleum process, remember that there is a large segment of possibilities available there like diesel, natural gas, petrol and other systems. So these can act as a catalyst for purification of those compounds. Also used in the television screens and fluorescence, because we have seen that the presence of unpaired electrons is natural in lanthanides. So because of that case, what we can analyze here is that since there is a possibility of change of energy states, this sort of fluorescence and color and magnetic properties can very easily be associated with lanthanides. So this is about the overall view of the lanthanide systems which are there. So in this, taking this as the base, because there is another similar set of compounds which is called as actinoids. So looking into all these things as the basic for the actinoids, let us now have an overview of the actinoids which are being present. So what are actinoids now? Starts with the element actinium. Once again, if you are able to dig into the periodic table, you will realize that actinium is a D block element, and after actinium follows the other 14 elements which are there, and they are called as actinoids. Now study of actinoids is pretty much complicated for two reasons. One reason is that most of them are radioactive. Somewhere around 92, that is for uranium, we may get it naturally, thorium, uranium, both these are one of the very good starting materials for nuclear reactors. But later on as you go, those are all prepared in the laboratory and they are present in very small quantities. So the study of these compounds is pretty difficult due to the radioactive nature, and they have a high variable oxidation state. We realize that in lanthanoids it is generally +3, some cases of +2, +4. Whereas here if you see the electronic configurations, there is so much of variations here where in some places you see that the D6D orbital is not there at all, some places it is there. So we are not able to generalize this entire condition. If you remember 3D series, we had a perfect generalization. We had a couple of exceptions, that was with respect to chromium and copper, and that we had attributed to the half filled stability and fully filled stability. But here that is not a possibility. And you also have a look at the oxidation states column, where you see large number of oxidation states that are being present, which means that it is going to be very difficult to analyze these compounds. What is the reason to have +3 oxidation states towards the fag end of the actinoids? Now that is because as we go on increasing the number of f orbitals, it will be difficult for you to remove 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 electrons from f orbital. So what it does best is it just clears away its 7s orbital and 6d orbital which is present. So that is why generally the fag end you are able to see +3, but the starting material of actinoids has a variable oxidation states which are being present. This is also a representation of oxidation states where various oxidation compounds are present. You are able to see that for thorium there is no +3. Now why there is no +3 for thorium? Same reason that we had attributed for cerium in lanthanoids. Thorium there is no +3, there is +4, because if you remove these 4 electrons, it directly goes to the noble gas configuration which is there. So this is about the actinoids oxidation states which have been present. Once again, let us see some physical properties of actinoids now. They are also silvery in appearance. Display variety of structures. Now what do we mean by the structures? In structures we have various solid forms like simple cubic crystals. Also we have body centered, face centered, and the type of structures that happen, some of them are 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional systems which are there. They tend to utilize one side of the area. So that is why variety of structures are there, and that is why it gets more and more complex. And magnetic properties also, they are more complex than lanthanoids, and actinoids are definitely more paramagnetic. Why this is so? So looking back, if you remember in the lanthanoids, we had this 5d1, 6s2 and some 4f systems. Whereas in actinoids, we are rather going to have 7s2, 6d1 and some 5s systems. Now both of them are bound to have lone pair of electrons which is present there. Also they are bound to have unpaired electrons also in them. Both the possibilities are available. And we know very well that magnetism is given by unpaired electrons which are being present. Now where are these unpaired electrons? If you see the lanthanoids, they are a little inside because 4f indicates 4th orbit. Whereas actinoids, they are present a little far away. So if you have a nucleus, probably the outermost electrons of lanthanoids are here, whereas the actinoids are much farther than this because they occupy a further orbit. So because they are more outside, they can attract more easily to the people who are on the other side of the system, by which I mean that a particular actinoid which is there would like to attract other systems because the unpaired electrons are present more far away from the nucleus. And therefore, that is the reason that actinoids are generally more paramagnetic in these cases. So these are certain physical properties that we tend to see in these compounds. Let us now see some chemical properties. Chemical properties more or less will be similar to what were with actinoids, and these are bound to be a little more reactive because the outermost electron is much far away from the nucleus. Attraction between nucleus and outermost electron is less, so naturally they would like to attack other systems. So if you see here that in these cases they are highly reactive, they react with water, they react with many non-metals like say oxygen, nitrogen and sulfur, all those reactions that we have studied with lanthanides. And here they also react with many acids also, but they generally don't tend to react with bases, because what happens here is these actinoids are metallic forms. So quite natural that they may not react with the bases. One thing we have to realize here is that when we spoke with respect to reaction of lanthanoids with say oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and all those elements, we believed that the oxidation state of lanthanoid is generally going to be +3. And considering this +3, we had formed various compounds like Ln2O3, LnN, this is lanthanum oxide, lanthanum nitride, then we had also formed LnX3, all this. Now all this was on the basis that Ln is +3. Some case of +2, +4 may be there, but this was our consideration. Now such a consideration I cannot hold it in actinoids. because no doubt many of them have +3, but it is not proven that majority of the states are +3. So therefore, like the way I generalized for lanthanum as +3, I will not be able to generalize like that. So it will depend on each individual reaction, how the reaction will take place. So these are certain chemical properties that you tend to associate with respect to actinoids, which are more or less similar to lanthanoids, except for the fact that the oxidation state cannot be guaranteed in these cases. So now let us see certain differences or similarities. This table is not just to depict the difference, it can also be similarities in the compound. The very first reason, oxidation states. So for lanthanoids it says it is +3 in most cases, just now we have discussed it, and for actinoids many such states are possible. Binding energies of 4F are higher, 5F are lower. Reason for this? The reason can definitely be attributed to the fact that with this nucleus, in the 4th orbit you have this 4F orbital, which means that they are a little near. So naturally the binding energy between the nucleus and this electron will be strong. 5F is outside the 4F, so with increase in distance, the energy required to bind these people also will be less because of lesser attraction. So that is why 4F binding energy will be pretty high. So seeing the third part now, shielding effect. They say 4F has a greater shielding effect, whereas 5F have poor shielding effect. Once again the same reason, because 4F is much near to the nucleus. Because being near, there will be more electrons which will block its attraction. 5F being very far, it will not have much attraction with the nucleus. So this is the shielding effect that we tend to see here. Moving on to the next point, tendency to form complexes. This factor we are going to study extensively in the next chapter, which is called as coordination chemistry, which is nothing but formation of complex compounds. So the explanation for this shall be seen in the next continuation of this chapter. The next one is basic character, less basic, relatively more basic, because in 5F, in actinoids, electrons are outside. These electrons will be much more flexible to give away the electrons which are present. Sixth one, radioactivity. We already discussed that generally most of these compounds in actinides are radioactive, and therefore their study is complex, whereas in lanthanoids we have only one element which is radioactive in nature. Colors. Most of their ions are colorless. This is attributed to the fact that these ions which are there, they are able to be present as unpaired electrons, and that is why. A similarity you can see in actinoids, a large number of ions are colored, the same reason that unpaired electrons are present. Once again, talking about the paramagnetic factor, we know very well that both color and paramagnetism depend on the unpaired electrons. So both of them are paramagnetic, but in lanthanoids it has been a little easy. In actinoids it has been very difficult because of variable oxidation states which they are present, and also another reason being that they are radioactive in nature. Tendency to form oxo ions. These oxo ions are nothing but formation of these compounds with respect to oxygen. So some aspect can be attributed to the actinoids. So this is a generalized view of the lanthanoids and actinoids, which compose together themselves as inner transition elements. If you have gone through this entire chapter, you would realize that most of the things that we spoke in this segment are in relation to the earlier segments. So you hardly came across any new concept in this part. They were all a correlation with the D block elements which were present. So with that correlation, I hope that you were able to understand the concepts of how this lanthanoids and actinoids are present. So see you again for the next segment. Sai Ram.